Second chapter of Parshat Bamidbar talks about the encampments and the different way that Bnei Israel camped. Pasuk Bet includes the words Ish al diglo ba'otot levet avotam. Each person by his banner, in court according to the um, insignia or something like that of their ancestral home. And one way sort of to think about this chapter is sort of continuing of yesterday is sort of a response to a fear, to human fear. Where do I belong? We're in the desert. It's the wilderness. It's unstable and it's chaotic and it's frightening, right? Again, we have the place, the banner. The Midrash, in fact, discusses how um, Israel saw the ordered camps of angels, and they wanted a structure as well. That's what the Midrash understands as well. And it's just to think about it, like in our own lives, our own sense of the need of structure and looking for the people who are rootless, people who seem to not have people that they can identify with. So very important here, right? Ish al diglo, a person according to his banner. Find your structure, find your banner, find your place. And for those who don't have that, can we go and help them? So we're talking again in this chapter about the different structures, the different camps. The east side has Yehuda with Nachshon ben Aminadav, and has the number of his number 74,600 in their tribe, and the different tribes that are on their side on the east, and the total number 186,000, and on the southern side, right, and then on the Levites are between closer to the to the Mishkan. And it says there in Pasuk, um, it talks about how the Ohel Moed was bitoch hamachanot. The Ohel Moed was in the midst of the camps, right? So here, what do we're talking about Bnei Israel generally here, how they camped, getting towards Israel. It's very important, the military structure, the organizational structure. However, what we're seeing here, and what's important, there are many things that are important, is that the Jewish camp is structured around the Mishkan. The center, the seat of power is not the military. The center of power is not Pharaoh for going back. It's not around the king. It's not around the army. Bnei Israel structures itself around the Mishkan. All the different tribes have their different qualities, their different characteristics, like we talked about yesterday. Sort of the Netziv, where he talks about the Shemot, the names. We're going to talk about we're going to be counting the people, but each person has a shame, each person has a name, each person has some different qualities to them. All the different tribes here as well have different qualities, different traits that they bring, but it doesn't matter. We all are structured surrounding the center. The center reveals what is at the core and what is the mission of Bnei Israel. And the core and the mission of Bnei Israel, the center, the deepest values is God, is the Mishkan. That's what's sitting at the center of the camp and should sit at the center of our lives in the way that we live in our lives. Now, when we start to talk about the different camps, talked about the center, first we begin with the east, like we mentioned, which is the tribe of Yehuda. Tribe of Yehuda is the first one that's mentioned in Pasuk Gimel. Vachonim Kedma, camped on the east side, Mizracha, Degel Machane Yehuda Litzivotam, is the flag of the tribe of Judah and their, we'll call it Tzivotam, their troops, their armies, and we're told the name of the Nasiv Livnei Yehuda, Nachshon ben Aminadav, and the prince or the chief of the tribe of Judah is the famous Nachshon ben Aminadav, not so famous from the Torah, but famous from the Midrash, where the Midrash has him, of course, walking in, the first one to walk into the Yam Suf. So Yehuda is the first one that's mentioned. Yehuda is going to lead the camp from the east. And we think of the east is where sunrise comes from. The east is where the sun comes up. East symbolizes beginnings. East symbolizes sort of right light, hope, daylight. Yehuda is associated with kingship, with leadership, the ancestor of David HaMelech. However, what we have to remember about Yehuda, and we'll talk about David, is that Yehuda's greatness begins not just from the beginning with daylight, but it comes from repentance. It comes from failure. The Yehuda and the Tamar story, Yehuda selling Yosef, Yehuda admitting at the end of the Tamar story, Tzad Kamimeni, she is more righteous than I. Not just in this, but generally, she is more righteous than I. I made a lot of mistakes. And what's sort of interesting here is we think of the east, the sunrise, the light, the beginning. In Judaism, leadership is not just about the beginning and perfection, it's moral growth, right? It's from the mistake. Yehuda is leading, but they're not leading because they were perfect and they were the first and they were the son and everything was fine. No, 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 just the opposite. The leader is coming from a place where mistakes were made, and despite the fact that mistakes were made, they nevertheless um, they nevertheless are the leaders of Bnei Yisrael. Now, here when we talk about the flags, right? We have two words that are used going back to pasuk bet, ishal diglo ve'otot. The Israelites will camp each with its. I'm just reading to you from the Sefaria, whatever this is, JPS 2023, with its standard under the banners. So we have the word dega, which we actually think of as a flag, and the word otot here maybe means a banner. So we have these two different words. Oat may be more of a sign or a symbol, but two different words, a degel and an oat. And why is there both? So those who attempt to explain that the degel is sort of the collective identity of the tribe. The tribe of Yehuda has this quality. The tribe of Yisachar has this quality. The tribe of Ephraim has has um, has this quality, right? It's the collective identity of all of the tribes. The otot are the sort of the unique symbols of each tribe, even within that tribe itself. And we know this in the similar sort of like what we're saying yesterday. We think about America. What can make America great is, right, we have e pluribus unum or unum Shmuel. You can tell me how I'm supposed to pronounce that properly. I don't know. But right, from many one, we have the idea of one, the idea of the shared destiny, but the shared destiny has to be a great country, to be a great place, has to have the distinct individuality. I'll tell you guys a story. When I was living in Belarus some 25 years ago, I was trying to get a Jewish cemetery in the city. I was living in Mogilov, Belarus, to get it fixed. It had fallen into disrepair, and people were digging up graves and burying their relatives there. I met with the what we'll call the local governor, the word that was used in an oblast. We'll call it kind of like a state or a territory. And I met with him, and I was speaking to him, and I was saying, we have the cemetery, it's a Jewish cemetery. We want to fix it and be respectful of the dead and leave it for Jews in the future who want to bury there. And he said to me, we don't have things like Jewish cemeteries here anymore. Everybody is the same. Everybody is exactly, we're all Belarusian, we were all Soviets, whatever words he used. I don't remember the details of the conversation. And I remember I said back to him that, true beauty in life is not making everybody the same, but respecting everybody for their differences, sort of. And I don't know who was my teacher in high school that must have told me the salad bowl over the melting pot, but that's in a sense what we have here. We have a shared destiny of Bnei Israel, but the understanding of the distinct individuality of each tribe. So go have your Catholic cemetery and have your Russian Orthodox cemetery and have your Muslim cemetery and have your, I don't know, atheist cemetery and have the people who are being, who do not want to be buried and they're going to be cremated. But let us have our Jewish cemetery to honor our distinct individuality, right? Too much of the same destroys personality. Too much fragmentation destroys unity. So the camp of Israel here, the Machaneh, is supposed to be a model of sort of, we could say it fancily, unity without uniformity. We are one people, but we are not all the same. Now, one interesting way, if we want to take a more sort of a global perspective on this entire chapter, is the formation around the Mishkan, to those who say, sort of echoes um, Gan Eden. It sort of echoes Eden. You could argue whether it's a little bit of a stretch. Okay, but we'll present it. If you don't like it, it's take it or leave it, right? We think of a four side, like I don't know, that's a square, but right, four sides is parallel to Gan Eden, where there were the rivers, right? It was like almost like it was bordered on each side. The Mishkan in the center is sort of reflective, resembling the idea of the Eitz Hachayim that's in the center. The eastward orientation, starting with Yehuda in the front, recalls the entrance into Gan Eden, which was also facing east. And so, to think about it from that perspective, when we think of the Machaneh, the camp, it's not merely a question of boundaries and structure and border and logistics. It's an attempt to build a sacred human order amongst the chaos and the instability of the desert, of the midbar, right? So if we think back to Breshit begins with the sort of humanity expelled eastward from Gan Eden into chaos, right? We have the story of Adam and Chava, and they're kicked out, and real life sort of begins when they're kicked out of the Garden of Eden. They leave this structured environment with God at the center, and they go into the chaos of the everyday world. Not that every day shouldn't be chaos, but you know what I mean, as opposed to the idyllic state of Gan Eden. And now here we have God is back on earth. V'hit halachti b'tochechem. We read in the end of, not the end of Bechukotai, but towards the end of Vayikra, God saying, if you walk with me, then I will walk amongst you. Ve'lechetchem komemiyut. And the Midrash says, compares it to like how God walked with Adam Harishon. I'll walk doubly of how I walked together with Adam Harishon in the Gan Eden. So here in this camp, one way of looking at it in a sort of a harmonious way is that the camp here in Bamidbar is imagining or reimagining the possibility of constructing a holy, a sacred, a perfected society that's organized and structured around the Shekhinah, God's presence, a moral order with human dignity as part of it. Right in Gan Eden, we didn't have so many people, but there was a certain sense of harmony, and man was supposed to keep that garden around and protect it, and it was going to remain this perfected, ideal place. Doesn't work. We're sent out into the chaos, into the regular unstable world to work, and the difficulties. Now the backdrop is the difficulties, the instability of the desert, the lack of habitation, the lack of food, the difficulty. Here we are trying to create in that midst a perfected, ideal state. God at the center, and if God is at the center, then hopefully moral order, human dignity for man and animal will follow as well. So sort of looking at this as not just a camp and not just the way that we're structured around it, but seeing it in its context as going back to the early parts of the Torah and trying to set up an exact, perfected, beautiful moral society.